This is the Optimal Wellness Podcast, helping you achieve optimal wellness naturally, with your host, Dr. Clifford Fetters of Health and Wellness of Carmel.
Today, we're talking about a very common but often frustrating problem, which is common and seasonal allergies.
Oh my gosh, allergies are the bane of my existence. And I love it when spring rolls around because it's the summer and the warm weather, and it's so much fun to be outside finally. But there's always a 50-50 chance that my allergies will flare up. So I am really looking forward to talking to you today about how to help alleviate my symptoms.
Perfect. But as you know, we have to get the root cause of your allergies.
Yeah, so why do we even have allergies in the first place?
Well, because the immune system is overreacting to a substance that's benign. So your body's overreacting. And when it overreacts, it means that the immune system has a problem. So if the immune system has a problem, you have a problem. So so basically it's based on our genetics and many other factors, but it's a telltale sign that something else more serious could be going on, particularly down the road.
Interesting. Even if it's just as simple as like pollen or dust, because I know every single morning when I wake up, I'm checking that weather app, seeing how high the pollen count is.
Yeah, so everyone is exposed to allergens. So why do you and I react more than the average person? And it's basically our genetic code. The reason why we're strong-willed and perfectionistic is our genetic code. We're called under-methylators. We don't methylate properly. And when you don't methylate properly, you're prone to all kinds of allergies and autoimmunity. So allergies, luckily, are just a nuisance. But as you know, autoimmune conditions can be a big problem.
So what does it mean to under-methylate?
So there's a huge chemical reaction that occurs in the body to make methyl groups. I mean, methyl group is just carbon atom with 3 hydrogen atoms, tiny little molecule that turns on and off your genetic code. It signals, it's one of the major signals to change molecules into being more active or less active.
So how does one, I guess, fix that?
Right. Well, number one, we can do a genetic test to see where you're methylating. I used to do it on all my clients, and then I realized, based on personality type, I can tell what your methylation cycle is and where your mutations are. So first off, we have to make sure you have the nutrients, because there's many enzyme reactions that occur to allow you to methylate. So you need all these different vitamins and minerals to methylate. So my people, the number one complaint, you give me too many vitamins. Well, you need vitamins and minerals for the methylation cycle and all these enzymatic reactions. So number one. And number two, things block up the methylation cycle. So to be methylating, it's your genetics, but we can overcome the genetics with modern technology and modern vitamins, and we can just remove the things that mess with the methylation cycle.
So speaking of removing from the methylation cycle itself, does that have anything to do with like spring cleaning? Because I know that whenever spring rolls around, spring cleaning is a really big deal. Right. And everyone's like, oh, spring cleaning, allergies is in the spring. So does that kind of correlate together?
To some degree, yes.
Okay.
Because, when you have allergies, the more toxic burn you have, the more allergens in your environment. So if you have lots of dust, and most people are allergic to dust, particularly me. So if there's dust and other problems, that's an issue. And the concerns with your cleaning products, you're right. If your cleaning products can be toxic to the methylation cycle, and that can actually exacerbate your allergies. So make sure you clean your home with all natural products.
So when we're speaking about how you're allergic to dust and how a lot of people are allergic to dust, like my mom, what do you personally use in order to make sure your cleaning products aren't, contributing to that methylation cycle that we were talking about, and also to keep your home dust-free?
Oh, yeah. I mean, most importantly, just a good filter for your home. You used to be the cheap filters you could see through for your furnace, but now, it's a thing. So it used to be hard to find. Now every place sells the pleated filters. The magic word is MERV 8. As long as it's at least a MERV 8, it will stop even mold toxins, which are very small. Don't go too high. It went too high and it backed up my whole system. You can destroy your system with too high a filter. So don't go any higher than what's recommended. But a MERV 8 is the magic number. And some people get the bigger ones that last longer, that changes often. But that's number one. And number two, you guys, half the people in America that don't have allergens can't relate to us. I mean, I say, please close your windows, but they won't. And the pollen just keeps accumulating. So your pollen count inside your home with the windows open 3 to 4 times greater. And then your car, the windows, when you're driving down the road and the windows are open, oh my God, that kills me. Does that kill you in the allergy? Yeah, because 5 times more pollen's now in your car than what's outside. So keep those windows shut.
But it's so nice to keep them open.
Not if you have allergy. I know I have this argument all the time with my friends. It's like, you will suffer. You will. Yeah, keep the window shut. And just be careful with plants. I mean, I'm allergic to like flowers. I can't have flowers in my home, and just plants. And then when you have dirt with the plants, that's a fine place for mold because people overwater it. So mold toxins is an issue. And then just a cleaning process. Yeah, just water and vinegar almost for all things. You don't need a lot of toxic chemicals to spray, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's probably cheaper too.
Yeah. And then pets, and I'm really allergic to cats, a little bit to dogs. But, if you have pets, if you have to have pets, at least keep them out of your bedroom. The less you're exposed to their dander, the better. There's actually ways you can clean the dander off of an animal maybe once a week. There are things that can actually take away the dander.
So let's say you have someone like my mother, who is the greatest woman ever, in my personal opinion, but who loves to snuggle with her pups, loves to keep windows open in the spring and summer, and loves to basically have no AC in her car unless it's over 90 degrees. Okay. And she doesn't necessarily want to change her lifestyle. Okay. What should she do in order to help her not have severe allergies if she still wants to do all those things?
So my allergies are 95% better from just the things I do. So number one, methylation, get her methylating. So there's just a good multivitamin is very good. But since we don't methylate, we can't break down folic acid. You've heard of the MTHFR mutation. It's the most common. Most people know what that is. The reason why women take folic acid before they get pregnant is because more than half of people have that mutation in America. So they can't break down folic acid. So neural tube defects with their children. Big concern, cleft lip, cleft palate. So we have fortified folic acid in our food. Problem is, folic acid is toxic to you and me and all these under-methylators. But now we have technology that we can make methyl tetrahydrofolic acid, already broken down folic acid. And that's why our vitamins are more expensive than the Walmart brand, because they're all properly methylated. So if your mom was on a vitamin that's a multivitamin that's made, high quality, it will support the immune system.
So it will really help her, and she can still, be out there doing the things that you all told us not to do.
Right. That and other things. There's other things we'll talk about in a minute about the methylation cycle, but the key is just giving you the vitamins and minerals to help that work.
So which vitamins and minerals would you prefer, people take for allergy season? Not only just to kind of prep their body to not have as severe of allergies when it comes around to the spring and summer when we're outside more, but also when they're in the middle of having an allergy attack, like itchy eyes, runny nose, the works.
Okay. Yes, number one, B12 is huge. So B12 probably most important. There's two types. A lot of people push methyl B12. Mm-hmm. Well, too much methyl B12 overly stimulates the methylation cycle, which can cause problems. In fact, irritability, anxiety. So I really like hydroxy B12 if you do it separately. All good multivitamins have plenty of methyl B12 in them. Okay, so B12, all the B vitamins. So any B complex or multivitamins have that. And then vitamin C is so important. Vitamin C clears histamines. My minimum 3,000 milligrams twice a day. Linus Pauling, the most famous man who had won a Nobel Peace Prize for vitamin C, you keep going up by 1 gram per day. He had diarrhea at 14 pills, so he took 13,000 milligrams a day. Vitamin C helps protect you from infectious process. It's critical for collagen production, but most importantly, it clears histamines, really balances the methyl, and really supports the methylation cycle. So, and then magnesium, zinc, those are two of the most common nutrients that are deficient in America. So pretty much all my people take extra zinc and magnesium.
Yeah, so that is definitely all the supplements that we need to take in order to help allergy season.
For methylation.
Yes, right. For methylation. But is there anything we can do besides taking those supplements to help?
Okay, so besides supplements, avoid other, not just your pets, but there's other toxins. I worry about environmental toxins. Everyone should have an environmental tox panel. Roundup, atrazine. There's even DDT still in farming in Indiana. If you live in the Midwest, you're doused with chemicals, and these chemicals are toxic to every cell in the body. Okay, so that, and then heavy metals. Heavy metals irreversibly bind to the many enzymes in the methylation cycle. In fact, all the vitamins, if you do everything right and you're not getting better, the heavy metals are blocking the system, and all the vitamins in the world cannot overcome heavy metals. So everyone should do a heavy metal challenge test. Either that, or there's this called an oligo scan. It's kind of become popular, which is a test that's a non-invasive test. But in fact, even my 16-year-old kids are having high levels of lead. So that's probably if you can't get better with the basics, you have heavy metals.
Or do you have a leaky gut?
Right.
Because I know that's always thrown around too.
Right. So the leaky gut is a real issue. Probably Roundup is number one thing. And as you know, glyphosate Roundup is everywhere. It's in all our foods. That's why we have to be organic. Mm-hmm. But if you have leaky gut, there's one cell layer between your intestines and your bloodstream. One cell layer. And if that's impaired, then toxins get in your bloodstream. All kinds of toxins from the GI tract, food, allergens get in the bloodstream. So if your immune system's upregulated, just attacking all those things, there's not enough methyl groups left to turn off your immune system when there's simple allergies. Mm-hmm. So you're using your immune system to turn off all this bad stuff and not enough to control your allergies.
And I know you said all of our products in our store are methylated, correct?
Correct. Yeah, all the ones, the B vitamins are methylated, which means that they're made for the methylation cycle.
Awesome. So what would be your top 3 in the store to get if you were just a viewer watching this right now? Like you said, 3 that you need to get right now for allergy season.
Yes. So for, I say quercetin I like. So there's many products use stinging nettles is amazing. And if you have really bad allergies, Amlexinox. It's a peptide, but it's moderately priced, but it's a mast cell stabilizer, antihistamine, leukotriene inhibitor. So everyone talks about histamines, but there's also leukotrienes that's part of this allergic reaction, all the itchy eyes, the sinus congestion range, and then Amlexinox is super, super powerful for allergies.
Well, perfect. I think we got a good base for some armor, but are there any other points you'd like to add?
I guess number one, heavy metals, environmental toxins, food allergies. Well, we didn't talk about what's the most allergenic foods.
Dairy.
Dairy's number one.
I'm allergic to dairy.
Yeah, and people don't know it. It's like, if you have, people just need to listen to their body. When you eat a certain food, you realize a tummy ache or sinus congestion, but gluten, dairy, soy, eggs, and peanuts. In fact, so half our patients with mild problems, they come in one visit. I just put them on the immune pack, which are multivitamin, vitamin C, vitamin D, a good probiotic to help with the leaky gut. And then they just get off on a healthy diet, no processed foods, minimal sugar, and then no gluten, dairy, soy, eggs, and peanuts. And half the people are better just from doing those simple things.
All right. So I know that we went through a lot of information today. We hit a lot of really big points, but for someone who maybe wants to come in and wants to dive deeper into this and talk about heavy metal tests and, talk about allergies and get help with their allergies, seeing you, how would that look like?
Sure. Right. Well, when they come in, we first do blood tests. It's the most important thing. Your white blood cell count. If your blood cell count is high or low, you either have a high viral load if it's low. If it's high, you have a high bacterial load. And that's going to totally mess with your immune system, cause allergies. Homocysteine. That is the amino acid that drives the methylation cycle. If you're too high or too low, that tells me about your genetics. High ammonia level, that tells me about a certain enzyme system. So just routine blood tests for that. What's your histamine level? If your histamine levels are high, you're going to take a lot of vitamin C. Maybe short term, you need the Amlexinox and the powerful things to just calm down the immune system. And then the environmental tox panel is just a simple urine test. We give you a kit. The blood tests, you do have to schedule blood tests for an IV challenge test where you have an IV for an hour and a half and it has substances will pull out the 20 most common heavy metals. You check your urine for 6 hours and that's the most accurate test. For our oligo scan, just seconds, it scans your palm, and with high-tech technology, it's very accurate as far as telling what your metals are. And from that, it's either oral chelation, certain chelating agents that grab onto the different metals based on what you have, or IV chelation works the fastest. IV just pulls out the metals. The first time you probably didn't notice I have ADD, right? So the first time I did the IV chelation, it's like the world got so quiet. I go, that's how people can read a book for hours on end. And now when I study, I can get lost in book for hours doing my research, where before in pre-med, I could take 20 minutes, I had to take a 10-minute break. So those with ADD, I mean, that's a methylation disorder. In fact, we didn't talk about that. I know it's not allergies, but mood disorders, serotonin, dopamines, all your neurotransmitters are based on the methylation cycle. Histamines are a neurotransmitter. That gives you all this energy. That's why you have to be careful with antihistamines, because it makes you so tired and drowsy. Mm-hmm. So all our natural products do not cause the drowsiness. It's a more natural way of lowering histamines and stabilizing histamines. Yeah.
Wow, and who knew that all of that could be found just by having allergy symptoms? So if you have symptoms, definitely get in here.
Right. Allergies are a red flag. There's something else going on. It's just not a nuisance thing. It means you have an immune problem.
Noted. Okay, perfect. Well, I know that when people come in, they would love to see you, but we do have 2 other great providers here that they could see that could help with this problem, correct?
Right. Absolutely. We have an NP and a PA, and they both work with allergies and the functional medicine. We love the root cause, and the methylation cycle and making that work is one of the hallmarks of holistic health.
Thank you for listening to the Optimal Wellness Podcast. Subscribe now to get monthly episodes to help you achieve your wellness goals. And if you'd like to learn how we can help, schedule an appointment at Health and Wellness of Carmel today. Just go to HWOFC.com or call 317-663-7123.